All right, we got a quick one today. We're going to look at the Vegas Golden Knights. I love the Vegas Golden Knights. It's so much fun to watch them do what they do and get the reaction that they get out of people. There's nothing we can do about it, so watching them do it is awesome. With that said, they still did draft some players. Starting things off at 55th, they drafted the player I had ranked 54th in Jakub Eiznak. This was a player that last summer I could not believe how much he was scoring at the junior level last year, and I could not believe how much people seemed to like him going into this season, to the point where I feel like people who rank guys more than a year in advance are just sorting by points. He started the year not even on my list, and towards the end of the year he did work his way back onto the list, but I still do think that the upside is really limited with him. The playmaking and the pass timing, especially in the offensive zone, is solid enough where it does lead to production at the junior level. He does know how to find open space off the puck, but his shot is not particularly incredible. His ideas are not particularly creative. His defensive game is so-so, I would say, at best. He's just a player that I just felt didn't bring a whole lot. I saw him in the SHL a few times, and I do think you saw a little bit more pace and energy in his game, and a little bit more of that chaotic success that I think you need to have in the NHL. So we'll see what happens with him. At 55th, it's a decent bet. I would have looked a different direction. There were guys that I had ranked higher that went significantly later. There are some traits in his game that you can build around, so it's an interesting bet, and we'll see where he ends up after a few years in Sweden playing professional hockey. At 85th overall, they drafted Matteo Noair, and this is a player that is one of the youngest in the draft. I think that there's a really intriguing playmaking guy here. He makes really smart passes. He finds ways through traffic really effectively, but he is a little small. I think his game is a little bit limited, and I do think that playing in the queue, he's a little bit untested against really high quality competition, but this is around the range I could see a team taking a swing on a guy like this. Bet on the youth, you bet on the vision, you bet on the playmaking ability, and you might have a player in a few years. Jumping forward 101 picks, the Vegas Golden Knights went ahead and selected Alex Wemmer. I saw Wemmer a lot this year with Portland, and I loved him. Similar to a guy like Charlie Serrato, a player who I didn't see a whole lot of when he was a draft eligible, but what I did see, there were some interesting flashes, and to see him develop over the next couple of seasons into what he is now is really intriguing. I think that 186th, drafting a guy like Wemmer is a reward for just how good he was this year with Portland. The skill level, the dynamic offense, the intensity, there was forechecking ability that I really liked. Do I think this is an NHL player? I don't know. This guy might be just a solid AHL guy that they can plop in there now, and you see what happens with him once he gets there. But this is a really intriguing pick. Maybe he goes back to college or something, but interesting player. Definitely plays an admirable style of play that you can build around, and in 5 years, maybe he's a guy playing down your lineup in Vegas. Maybe he's a guy they trade for someone they need for a playoff run. An intriguing pick at 186. I don't have a ton to say about him because I don't have any data on him, but whenever I watched Portland, he was catching my eye. And one pick later, Vegas closed out their draft class by taking Gustav Shookfist. Shookfist is a player that is a re-entry. I watched him a little bit after the draft. I had never heard of him before, and this is an interesting one. His game does lean a little more in the defensive direction. He's a really good stick checker. He's a pretty good skater with great reach, and I think those things all combine to be a solid defensive floor, and I'm not surprised that he was playing solid minutes in Hockey Allsvenskan for a team that went all the way to the finals and almost got promoted to the SHL. And with Shookfist, I would expect him to just continue to earn more and more minutes and play more and more solid defensive hockey. If I was working for a staff and his name came up, I didn't have the time to take a look at him this year, but if someone else had and showed me a compilation of the kinds of things that I was seeing since the draft, I would not be against taking a Shookfist around this range of the draft. He's an interesting player. I think he brings some intriguing tools. I do think his shot is better than I think a lot of people lead on when you look at the reports that do exist of him, but for what he brings to the game, there's a solid floor, solid foundation. In 5 years, there could be an interesting depth defenseman here that Vegas just plops in a lineup and he can eat some minutes. And at 187th, that's great value. So overall, the Vegas Golden Knights are going to get a 3A. I don't think any of the players they drafted are going to be particularly world-ending, massive steals, but they all bring something in the realm of a reasonable level of expectation that is valuable where they took them. Eiznak, I didn't really see it with him, especially as, say, a first-round draft pick, but as a later second-round pick, it makes a lot of sense for me. Would he have been my guy here? No. but I see the logic. Matteo Noair at 85, would I have made this bet here? Probably not, but I see the logic. He's young, creative, a strong passer. You can bet on those types of things. He's a decently energetic player as well, and you leave him in college or junior hockey for a while, and at the end of the day, who knows? Alex Weirmeyer, he's a really admirable player to watch. He's aggressive and physical for a guy his size. He's got some skill. He's a selfless player that I think his team really rallied around as a unit, and at the end of the day, Weirmeyer might be a really intriguing pickup. And Shookfist might turn out to be the guy that plays the most NHL games out of these guys, weirdly enough. I'm not going to put money on that, but with the solidity of his defensive game, the skating ability that I did really like, his simple but effective output, and a good shot on top of it all, yeah, I could see it being an interesting pick for them down the road. Not the most incredible group of players, but across the board, I could see a world where all of these guys might push their way into some kind of NHL job, which gives them the rating that they have. But across the board for the Vegas Golden Knights, they made some really interesting bets, and we'll see where things go in a few years. A quick note before we finish today's video, I just wanted to mention, we are at 9,600 subscribers, give or take. Getting to 10,000 before next season would mean the world to me. So if you are not subscribed, which about half of our viewers aren't, I would suggest subscribing because I'm biased, but we have some good content coming, and our live shows twice a week are really fun. We get to talk about hockey, we talk about whatever else you want, we can talk about the time I ate an onion, we can talk about the future of the sport, we can talk about the current state of the NHL, and we just try to have some fun a couple times a week, and it's always great to see people come by. Thanks to everybody who already is subscribed. Let's get to 10K. That's a nice little project for us to do now. And with that, we're going to call it. If you liked the video, definitely like and subscribe. If you really liked it, definitely consider a subscription over at Scouching.ca, where you can get access to all kinds of fun data tools and our Discord server and plenty of other fun stuff that you're just not going to find anywhere else on the internet. So check that out at Scouching.ca. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.